Hey everybody, it's Prince's Friend, and I am back with a short review of the latest release, or non-release, I guess, from Prince, called Deliverance. It was the Deliverance EP, and it's going to be a rather short review because it's hard to justify a super long review for an EP that's only 16 minutes long. And one of the songs is repeated. So I'm going to kind of go into the review here. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then afterwards I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on some of the controversies surrounding this EP. So first off, this EP was supposed to have been released on the anniversary of Prince's death, which was April 21st, 2017, the 1-year anniversary. To catch our eye, they released one track from the EP called Deliverance, which is obviously the title track as well. It was a 3-minute and 45-second song that we were able to get on SoundCloud, and I even pre-ordered it on iTunes, and it was a really damn good song. It's really kind of it's very gospel sounding, and it has a really good guitar solo in the middle there. It's very topical and sort of political, as it talks about Hurricane Katrina and how only God can come and save humanity from itself, basically. But it is an amazing song, that very first track, and it deserved to be released out there. So going into the rest of the album, the rest of it is kind of like 4 tracks that kind of feed into each other in a really good way, and it kind of tells the story of God by himself, and then he creates Adam, and then he creates Eve, and then it's all about Adam and Eve serving God, and that's basically that's basically the next 4 songs. The first one, the second track, is I Am, and Prince is actually singing from the position of God, where he says, I am, it's just me. No mother, no sister, no brother, only I am, because I can. It's one of those songs that's had me kind of walking around going, ooh, ooh, like constantly. It's a really, really good song, and it really rocks. That is why it's actually really good that this is the one that got repeated on the EP. So the 6th track is actually an extended cut of this song, which is good. It adds a little bit more guitar and everything, so but because the main version of it feeds into the next one, so it goes from God, and he creates Adam, and then Touch Me is the next song. It's just under 2 minutes long, and it's kind of about, it's where Prince is Adam, and he says, I'm alive, but I don't have anybody here for me. I don't have anybody, there's God, but I don't have anybody to touch me. So God makes Eve for Adam, and that brings us into Sunrise Sunset. And Sunrise Sunset is kind of Adam and Eve kind of talking to each other and showing how much they love each other. That song is about 1 minute long, which then goes into No One Else. And No One Else is kind of also from both of their point of views. Eve is saying there's no one else but me for you, and of course they're both saying there's no one else for us but God. And it's a really good EP, honestly. I've listened to it several times from front to back, and it is just really, really good. I really like the way that the songs feed into each other, where I Am is kind of rockin', Touch Me kind of turns into a really nice ballad, which also goes into Sunrise Sunset, which is a little bit of an up-tempo ballad, and then No One Else kind of becomes this kind of ominous, kind of like kind of sounding song, and then of course they throw I Am again at the end, and that song is really rocking, so I have no complaints there. But the conclusion for the review on the Deliverance EP is that it's really, really good, and I'm very sad that it didn't get to be released when they said it would be released. So now on to the controversy. So apparently, and I read some interviews and some articles, so there actually were contracts signed between Prince and Ian Boxall, who was the guy who was working with Prince on these tracks back in 2006, 2008, somewhere around there. And actually, Deliverance, that one song, they actually didn't sign anything. So that one was released. That one they've been playing it on the radio. That's not really where the controversy came from what I've been able to gather. Really, it came from the 4 tracks which Prince called the Man Opera, the creation of Man Opera. And that's where the contract actually comes in. So even though Ian Boxall apparently co-wrote and co-produced those songs, he actually did sign a contract that said those don't belong to him, they belong to Prince, and he's not to do anything with them. So the controversy then becomes that he says, well, Prince was against the man. Prince was a rebel, so Prince would be totally okay with me releasing them outside of the system because that's what he was about. Prince's estate's like, no, you signed a contract, and that means you cannot do that. Those actually do belong to us because we own everything that Prince owns. Now, I'm not really one of these people who believes that, Prince's estate, murdered him to get all of his songs and, they're the evil empire and all of this. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, and I've heard all of the theories out there. I don't really believe most of them, even though a couple of them are like, I mean, if that was true, that would make sense. But for the most part, he died, and now it's a mess, and it only makes it worse when you know that you have a contract signed and you try and get away with it anyway. So I know that there were some people who were commenting on some of my other videos about the Deliverance EP, and they were like, oh, God forbid we get something that, Prince's estate didn't release themselves, and, oh man, I guess we must be horrible people. And it's like, actually, no, you're not horrible people. I was able to get my hands on the Deliverance EP, as were a lot of people outside of the system. I would have rather have given some money for it, and hopefully they do, decide on something to release it, and then I will give them money for it. I will rebuy it. I don't care, because I feel like Prince's music is worth it. So I do want to just talk about a couple more little things about this legal case, which is kind of interesting. Ian Boxall and his label, which is Rogue Music Alliance, they actually were going to donate the majority of the funds made from the Deliverance EP to Prince's estate. They were already set up to do that. So it's kind of interesting that they were going to do that when essentially they were stealing those songs and then saying, yeah, we kind of stole them, but we're gonna give you, part of the profits. I think that almost was a bigger slap in the face than just stealing them in the first place. Almost, I guess not as bad, because if they just stole them and then tried to just keep them themselves, I don't know. I'm just it's legal area, it's all gray area that I am not a lawyer, so I am not somebody to say, whether they were in the right or the wrong. I know that they are currently in the legal proceedings. Prince's estate was able to get a temporary restraining order on RMA, so they can't release it right now, but that doesn't mean that they won't make some sort of deal in the future in order to get that out. So I'm actually really checking all of my sources and stuff, trying to figure out if this is going to be a thing. I will say that the fact that when RMA and Ian Boxall released this, they knew it was going to cause waves and create an issue. It almost seems like they were doing it on purpose. I would also like to point out that the contract that they say is between Prince and Ian Boxall apparently only has Ian Boxall's signature on it, so Prince never signed it. which might actually be legal precedent for it to just be overturned as not a legally binding contract because both parties didn't sign it. That's something that I was able to garner from some of the research that I did. It's really, really interesting, and there's so many different angles to kind of take this story. Right now, I'm kind of on the side of wait and see. I don't think anybody necessarily did anything super wrong on either side. I don't think that they were wrong to try and release the CD. I also don't think that Prince's estate is wrong for wanting to have some control over that. They are, trying to get their own releases out, releases that Prince actually was working on, the Purple Rain Deluxe Edition. Prince was readying that for release. I think from their point of view, they almost want to just not detract from the big release that they're doing with the 3 CDs and the concert movie and all this stuff. For there to be another thing out there, it could detract from sales, detract from attention. So I understand from a marketing standpoint that they would definitely want to have some sort of control over that. And I think that honestly, if they had just, I think if RMA had maybe talked with Prince's estate first, they might have been able to come up with some sort of, something beforehand. I mean, who even knows? It's all just a mess. But I did want to go ahead and throw some thoughts up on here, as well as my thoughts of the EP itself. I would love to hear your thoughts on this whole controversy, this whole mess, this whole legal mess here. Don't forget to put those down in a comment. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And may you live to see the dawn. And I'm really interested in hearing what you guys have to say.